So Crestwood is one of our newer buildings, actually, when you look at the history of the school district. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see a building that has been very well maintained by our maintenance staff and our custodial staff. They work very hard to maintain it, but it's sort of like a vintage car for any of those of you who have them. It's one of those where you have to know what you're doing in order to maintain it, and eventually you're going to have to replace parts. I mean, and that's all there is to it. And eventually something's going to give, something's going to go out. We're going to start with the building. I'm going to take you through a couple of places. We'll point out some things. One of the things I won't keep pointing out, but if you start to watch, you'll look at our ceilings and you'll see the different dark spots that occur because of the different water leaks that have happened over the years, things like that. They work hard to keep the roofs secure, to keep them tight, to keep the water out and things, but you will see as we go through. The other thing we have is, like a lot of our older buildings all over America, is underneath all of this ceiling tile, there is an amount of asbestos. It is wrapped, it is sealed, but we can't touch the ceiling tile because we don't want to disturb the asbestos that's above it. Some of our older floor tiles, we have the same thing. They're intact, they're good, they're strong, they're not a danger, but at some point, if those have to be changed, you have to go through a special process to make, I point to the maintenance guys, you have to go through a special process to make that happen. It becomes costly, and it does become very costly. But if you'll follow me this way, we're going to visit the kitchen. This is now our kitchen where we prepare the food for all 450 of our students. At one point, this was just the serving area with the dish area over here behind us. Okay. Now, you can see the lovely work and the creativity our teachers have. This was the kitchen. This is where the ovens were. This is where the storage was. They had dry food storage in here, their freezers, everything else. This was the door for that, and obviously, the glass block walls kind of pointed out too. This was put in, they would cook everything, prep it. You can actually see the counter that you're leaning on was the old chopping block. And then they would serve the food trays through here. They would grab them, put them on the serving line for the students. At one time, this was a music room, but our enrollment has gone up to the point here in the township that we took the music room out of here, and this has become a classroom that our Title I teacher and our special education teacher share this and work. You can see how they have the room sort of divided. We will have large semi-tractor trailer trucks that will pull up, have to back into this area. We open up the doors, we have to put the cones out, we have to stop the kids, and I mean, they're coming in with those big truck forklifts, the handheld ones. They're bringing in loads of pallets and packets, and sometimes that happens in the middle of the day. I mean, our staff does a very nice job of protecting our students, but this is a thing that, having been in districts where we've had newer buildings, we've had official loading docks, we've had those areas where they're safe, they're secure, and you can keep those heavy items away from the general populace in your school, is one of those things. You see a pallet of paper that's stacked as high as me, and you see a kindergarten kid this big coming down the hallway, and my heart starts, oh, Johnny, hold up, wait a minute, buddy, I think there's something. And the custodian puts out little things or cones for us, so we are, but this is one of the things that we work around on a daily basis here. We get water damage here, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes it's a light rain, we'll get water. Sometimes it's a downpour, we get nothing. But it's just one of those things. Over the years, you can see where the stains are. The roof looks solid, things look good, but it's an older building. It's just one of those things that you work with. And I think you'll find a room like this in every one of our elementary schools. This is where we show our creativity and our ingenuity. Not designed for this purpose. However, this becomes our art supply room. It becomes our teacher supply room. It becomes our art teacher's desk and office area right behind you. It's also our media closet where our tech people have come into this old 1950s building and run all the wires and all the infrastructure that you need for education in 2016. These buildings weren't built for that type of thing. So you can see up in the top where they've had to punch holes through the walls. They've run those wires above the ceiling tile, around the asbestos to the individual classrooms. This is also our teacher restroom. is in this room, in the back here. We also use this room for small group testing during testing time, and then some of our other support staff that works with students will come here, and you can see the little orange table. This is an instructional table. All of that occurs in rooms like this throughout the building, and I just wanted to point this one out because this is pretty typical of a lot of our elementary schools. But what happens is those planks start to work. When they work, they start to pull away or they start to dry rot, which invites a lot of insects, especially bees. In our school in particular, it is a big problem every year. The bees get underneath the wood. Once they get underneath the wood, they're above these ceiling tiles. And our exterminator tells me, okay, as long as I can catch them when you first notice them, we're good. If they start to get back in the building, he said, there's no way for me to get there without moving the ceiling tiles. We can't move the ceiling tiles because of the asbestos that's up there. So we have frequent visits by our exterminator. They're a very good company. They come out, but it's all around the building. It's 360 degrees all around the building. That was one of the things I would have pointed out to you. Our walkways are deteriorating, but that's common in any school. But, you know, it's a great building. Our faculty is wonderful. Our parent support base is absolutely fabulous. I couldn't be happier. We have a lot of community support. I guess my plea is, if I'm talking about it, I've come from a district where I had a newer building. It's not the building that makes the educational process. And my teachers get tired of hearing it because I always talk about the triangle. The student, the parent, and the teacher, and we make this triangle, and that's what makes the education. But I've seen it happen in a newer building. I've seen it happen in a building that has some climate control, has the right technology, it has the those little extras, those spaces, educational spaces that are big enough for our kids and our kids deserve, rather than a closet-sized space. You know, if there's something we can do, our kids deserve it. Our kids really deserve it. I mean, I don't know the next time the state of Ohio is going to give you almost 70% to make it. They are nostalgic. They're wonderful. They're old. You got to love them. I mean, you were married here. But the thing is, at some point, you know, they were built for education in 1956. And it's not 1956 anymore. And I mean, when I think about my own house, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary of this building this year. That's our 60th anniversary. I don't know many of us that have the same kitchen, the same bathroom, or the same carpeting we had 60 years ago. You know, and we're in one of those places, and the state has come in and said, you know, it's not worth us remodeling and trying to update these buildings. In a lot of cases, you end up doubling the costs. But it is feasible to spend good money if we put up new buildings, because they're going to last for 40, 60 more years. And so I get that. I understand that. I don't know if you're for us. I don't know if you're against us, but I know in our community we have a lot of support. Because one of my moms is here. Actually, the lady that bought us a bunch of water for free, or got somebody to donate it for our kids on those hot days, is here. But, you know, it's just something to think about. So.